We shall begin and try to make up for the time we've lost during the previous session. So all speakers are kindly invited to comply with the time limits given to them, so 10 minutes each. This is a plenary session. As you see, we have most distinguished guests coming from Italy and most distinguished guests coming from Eurasia. The subject being Europe and Eurasia. I should endeavour to be brief in my introduction so as to give the floor to the speakers as soon as possible. The main promoter of this forum, with President Fallico, has said something when commenting on what has happened during the past few years, and he has written, we must think that this basically puts the end to an horrible 2-year time. So we have to go back to what happened 2 years ago when the financial analysts anticipated growth of some 7.5% for the following years in the trade between these two main areas, Europe and Eurasia. Unfortunately, this did not happen. As a matter of fact, the opposite took place when it comes to trade, because actually there was a negative growth. But President Fallico said that this growth can be arrived at if we have an innovative vision of our economic relations. And this is a hope that we have to go back to. We have to stick to that, but we have to consider both negative and positive facts. And that is what I want to submit to you. Let's have a look at the negative facts first. Usually it's always better to start with what is not working. So we have the Ukraine crisis first, and the Minsk agreement. This is something that is closely related to the sanctions and the counter-sanctions that are going to be in place up until next year, that are unfortunately producing very negative effects, very important effects on the trade between Europe and Eurasia. Then there's a problem, the energy issue. The different set of rules, the contrast to energy integration of Baltic countries and Ukraine in the future, and the recurring tensions between NATO and Russia with reference to military and security issues. These obviously are most important subjects, most important topics with important repercussions, of course. But as a matter of fact, there are also a number of positive facts. First, the resumption of a dialogue between Russia and the US that has been certainly promoted by the important role being played by Russia in the nuclear agreement with Iran. There's a strong commitment on the part of Russia in Syria to oppose the Islamic State. Certainly, there are different views as to the role of Assad, but the strong commitment on the part of Russia has in itself a relevant element as it compounds different interests in fighting against ISIS. And then the economic scenario has changed as well, with positive signs being recorded as coming from Europe. Indeed, there are signs of slight recovery, and Minister Boschi just referred to that earlier on. And the forecasts anticipate also the same recovery affecting Eurasia as from next year and the following year as well. the newspaper I work for had an interview with President Putin before the summer with reference to sanctions and interactions with US, and he's been very precise in his answers. It was pretty blank when he said, why is that when Europe integrates, that is always considered normal, and when we do the same in the post-Sovietic space, this is looked at as if it were Russia wishing to rebuild the empire? Russia says, I don't understand why this different attitude. And then President Putin referred to de Gaulle, and he would refer to a single economic space from Lisbon to Vladivostok. Everybody apparently are agreed, but then this never takes place. And this is the issue that I'd like to voice to my question. Probably de Gaulle was referring to a different world. The world was different, obviously, at the time of de Gaulle. Now there are different players. And some of them are also at this forum: China, India, South Korea, for example. And President Sechin just said that the energy market is shifting eastward. So the situation is different. There are many areas that are interconnected that play different roles in the world economy, but certainly a very important area is being represented by Europe and Eurasia. And Europe and Eurasia will play a role not to be underrated. So this is the starting point. Considering both the positive facts and the negative facts, do you think that the conditions are there for a U-turn, for the economic and especially political change in the relationships existing between Europe and Eurasia? And this is the question that I'd like to address to President Romano Prodi, the president of the International Foundation for Cooperation. He's here with this hat, but we know that in the past he had many different hats. President Prodi, unfortunately, has to leave us after taking the floor because he has an engagement in Vienna and he has to catch a flight immediately after presenting his present report. Thank you.